Imagine being alongside one of the greatest music icons of all time, sharing intimate moments at the height of fame, while the world watches and everything you know begins to change. Linda Thompson was that woman, a regular woman transformed into a muse by Elvis Presley. But what happens when the reality behind fame and glamour is far more complex than the flashes of a camera can capture? Today, we will explore the fascinating story of Elvis Presley and Linda Thompson, a love that defied time but could not escape the storm of addictions and tragedies that marked their lives. Get ready for a journey of glamour, conflicts, and of course, the eternal legacy of one of music's greatest icons. In July 1972, fate crossed the paths of Linda Thompson and Elvis Presley in a way that no one could have predicted. Linda, a 22-year-old woman from Memphis and former Miss Tennessee, was a woman with dreams and ambitions in the entertainment world. She was still finding her place, but she already had some local notoriety. Elvis, on the other hand, was a globally recognizable name. At 37, he was at the height of his fame, not only as the king of rock, but also as a pop culture icon. Their meeting occurred under unusual circumstances, during a private screening of the film Aloha from Hawaii, which Elvis hosted in his hometown of Memphis. Linda was there accompanied by friends when she was invited to an exclusive event. At that moment, Elvis was looking for something more in his life, something beyond the glamour, crowds, and fame that always surrounded him. He, feeling lonely and isolated, found an unexpected connection in Linda. She, in turn, was also impressed, but not just by the star he represented. The chemistry between them was immediate, something that transcended Elvis's fame and Linda's beauty. Their exchange of looks and words soon revealed something deeper, something neither of them could have predicted. Although Linda knew Elvis's status, she wasn't impressed merely by his celebrity. She saw him as a man made of flesh and bone, with pain, fears, and vulnerabilities that she had never imagined before. Elvis, for his part, saw in Linda a genuine woman, far from the superficiality surrounding the people he usually associated with. Within a few days, their relationship was sealed, and Linda moved to Graceland, Elvis's famous mansion, to live by his side. This move was a significant step, not only for their relationship, but also for Linda's life. She entered a world where the rules were different, where privacy was almost non-existent, and where the attention of the entire planet was constantly focused on Elvis. But at the same time, she also found herself in a place of love, affection, and eventually, great emotional challenges. Linda soon adapted to the routine of Graceland, but the environment of luxury and fame was not the only impact she felt. She was also responsible for taking care of Elvis, especially his health issues and increasing use of medication. Their relationship, which started romantically with a strong mutual attraction, soon transformed into something deeper. Linda became an intimate friend, confidant, and often a caretaker for Elvis, helping him cope with the highs and lows of his personal and professional life. Despite the challenges, the two became inseparable. It was a relationship marked by Linda's devotion and Elvis's need to find someone who loved him without the masks of fame. She was the antithesis of what he usually attracted, someone who didn't just see the king of rock, but Elvis, the man behind the legend. This special dynamic between them made their relationship unique, but also would make it more difficult as time passed. The beginning of this unexpected love was undoubtedly remarkable for both. For Linda, it was an immersion into a world of luxury, but also of emotional complexity. For Elvis, it was a chance to connect with someone who, perhaps for the first time, didn't treat him just as a celebrity, but as a human being with his own insecurities and weaknesses. The impact of this meeting would reflect throughout the years, becoming the foundation of one of the most significant relationships in Elvis Presley's life, but also one of the most challenging. Being by Elvis Presley's side in the 1970s meant more than just being the girlfriend of a famous singer. For Linda Thompson, being Elvis's partner meant being part of a daily spectacle where the line between reality and fantasy often blurred. Elvis was undoubtedly a living legend. He didn't just dominate the stage, but he also became a cultural icon of epic proportions. Being his partner meant being at the center of the rock universe and public attention. For Linda, this was a constant dazzlement, but also an immense challenge. The world was watching every move Elvis made, and consequently, she was also under the spotlight. From the moment she moved to Graceland, Linda's life was marked by constant pressure from the media and fans. While she experienced the luxury and glamour of being a superstar's companion, she also faced the invasion of her privacy, with journalists and photographers often at her door. Linda knew her life was exposed to the world in a way that few could understand, but she wasn't prepared for the emotional weight this exposure would bring. Visits to Graceland, public photos, and walks with Elvis were the height of fame. But behind the cameras, their relationship began to face difficulties. Elvis, the man everyone adored on stage, was a different man behind the curtains. He was struggling with addictions and emotional issues that were draining his health and energy. The Elvis Linda saw at home was someone with an increasing dependence on medication and constant pressure to maintain his image as an untouchable icon. She found herself more and more taking on the role of caregiver, trying to deal with the emotional and physical ups and downs of Elvis. Living beside an icon also meant constant comparison and a level of expectation that Linda had never experienced before. Comparisons with ex-girlfriends, with entertainment legends, and even with the expectations the public had of such an emblematic figure like Elvis created an emotionally difficult environment. For Linda, being loved by Elvis meant living under the weight of his greatness, which, over time, became unsustainable. She began to question her identity outside of this relationship, realizing that her own life was being defined by Elvis's presence, not by the person she truly was. Moreover, there were emotional challenges. Elvis, in his crises, became unpredictable. His physical and mental health deteriorated, and he was no longer the confident, charming man Linda had once known. Linda, in various interviews, spoke about the difficulties of dealing with Elvis's erratic behavior, with periods of lucidity followed by moments of deep depression and, in some cases, hostility. Their love was real, but also filled with complexities. It was a relationship where Linda's emotional support often seemed to be Elvis's only constant, but this same dependence began to weigh heavily on her. She found herself emotionally drained, trying to keep the peace while dealing with the internal and external issues that Elvis's fame brought. Another significant challenge was the constant media surveillance, which gave Linda no rest. With every step she took by Elvis's side, newspapers and magazines were ready to publish something about the couple. Linda became a public figure not for her own achievements, but for being associated with one of the most famous men in the world. Throughout the relationship, she found herself surrounded by this aura of being Elvis's girlfriend, something that, although charming at first, became an emotional prison over time. Linda wanted to be recognized for her own qualities, but felt opaque in the shadow of Elvis's fame. The initial dazzlement of being with an icon was quickly overshadowed by the emotional challenges and constant pressure that came with living beside Elvis. She went from admirer and partner to caregiver and supporter, taking on a role far beyond romance, but also being the closest person to the man behind the myth. What seemed like a fairy tale, where a simple woman captured the heart of the king of rock, became a complex and painful reality. While Linda experienced moments of great happiness and glamour, she was also facing emotional struggles that few could understand. She had to balance the love she felt for Elvis with the growing need to take care of herself. Being the partner of an icon like Elvis Presley was not just about love, but emotional survival. Over time, Linda began to realize that her life needed to follow its own course, away from the shadows of Elvis's fame. What began as a dazzlement of being beside a superstar turned into a draining cycle of emotional ups and downs, where love and dedication were being consumed by the very greatness of the man she was with. The pressure, the weariness, and the challenges of being part of this world, a world where everything and everyone revolved around Elvis, became unsustainable. And their relationship, which had started so promisingly, began to face its own limitations. The relationship between Elvis Presley and Linda Thompson, though marked by intense moments of love and camaraderie, was not immune to the personal and emotional challenges they both faced. In 1976, after 4 years of a relationship full of ups and downs, Linda made the difficult decision to break up with Elvis. This decision reflected not only the deterioration of Elvis's physical and mental health, but also a growing need to preserve her own emotional health. The situation became unsustainable, and Linda realized that, although the love was immense, the relationship could no longer continue. The breakup was painful for both, but essential. Linda knew her presence in Elvis's life was deeply linked to her role as a caretaker, and though she still loved him, she found herself forced to walk away from a relationship that was draining her energy and identity. Elvis, for his part, was devastated. Losing Linda was one of many struggles in a life already marked by addiction and illness. He expressed on several occasions how important Linda had been to him, not just as a partner, but as emotional support during critical moments in his life. The end of this relationship not only marked the end of a love story, but also symbolized the rupture of Elvis from one of the last figures that still represented some stability in his life. Linda was, without a doubt, the woman who understood him the most in his final years, but the price of her dedication was too high for both. When she left Graceland and moved on with her life, Elvis found himself even more alone, facing the consequences of his own emotional fragility. After the breakup, Linda moved on, but the relationship with Elvis left an indelible mark on her life. She never stopped reflecting on the impact Elvis had on her life and career. Linda continued her path in the entertainment world, becoming a successful actress and songwriter, but always with an emotional connection to Elvis's legacy. She was one of the few people to speak openly about Elvis's private life, offering a unique perspective on the man behind the legend. Linda wrote a book, A Little Thing Called Life, where she shares her experience with Elvis, her memories of Graceland, and the moments she lived alongside the King of Rock. The book is not just a biography of Elvis, but also a testament to the experience of a woman who, despite being a secondary figure in Elvis's story, played a crucial role in his personal life. Throughout the book, Linda highlights how challenging it was to be by Elvis's side, but also how much she learned from this experience. She doesn't see him just as a star, but as a human being with flaws, insecurities, and emotional needs. Her narrative humanizes Elvis, bringing out a more intimate and vulnerable side of the man behind the public figure. The legacy of the relationship between Elvis and Linda is not limited to the impact they had on each other. They left a mark on pop culture history, not only as an iconic couple, but also as two people who, despite difficulties, formed a deep and unique connection. For many Elvis fans, Linda was one of the women who understood him the most. Her role in Elvis's life is often forgotten or minimized by his fame. But Linda was always more than just a famous girlfriend. She was someone who was there when Elvis needed her the most, and her story is also a vital part of the King of Rock's legacy. Today, their love is remembered not only for the moments of glamour and the photos that captured the public's attention, but for the complexity and emotional depth that surrounded their relationship. The breakup, although painful, was a turning point for both Elvis and Linda. For Elvis, it was another blow to his already fragile emotional balance. For Linda, it was a step to reclaim her own identity and follow a path that allowed her to be more than just the partner of a superstar. Her courage in walking away from Elvis, even while deeply loving him, demonstrates the strength and clarity with which she recognized that, no matter how much love united them, both of their mental and emotional health needed to be preserved. In retrospect, the relationship between Elvis and Linda is not just a romantic love story, but also a lesson about the limits of what we can give to others without losing ourselves in the process. They shared a unique and true connection, but the circumstances of their lives, especially Elvis's health and the emotional challenges he faced, made it impossible for this relationship to last long-term. Their legacy, then, is a reminder that even the most epic love stories are sometimes not enough to overcome the adversities life imposes. Today, the photos and memories of their love continue to be a significant part of Elvis Presley's history. Their relationship, although short, was profoundly transformative for both, and Linda's impact on his life remains a part of the legacy Elvis left to the world. She, for her part, moved on with her life, but always remembering that the love they shared was, without a doubt, one of the most remarkable and sincere in Elvis Presley's life. And so we come to the end of this emotional journey through the story of Elvis Presley and Linda Thompson, a love that, although challenged by life's adversities, remains eternal in the memory of fans and the history of music. If you were moved by this story and want to continue following more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything. Turn on the bell to receive notifications and never miss a new video. And if you liked it, leave a like and share it with your friends so more people can learn the true story behind one of the most iconic couples in the music world. Thank you for watching, and until the next video where we will bring more amazing stories to you, stay with us and let's continue celebrating Elvis Presley's legacy together. On July 4, 1956, Elvis Presley relaxed with his family on the patio of his home at 1034 Audubon Drive in Memphis. Elvis had purchased the house for $40,000 the previous year, a year before buying Graceland. While he enjoyed downtime at home, the same day he posed for this photograph, Elvis also performed at a benefit concert at Russwood Park in Memphis. The photo captures a rare moment of quiet in Elvis's life, offering a glimpse into his personal world, far from the public eye, as he balanced family and his growing career.